Yes, I think that you should do your absolute best to wait till it's dry enough where you're not going to cause sidewall compaction and compaction from tires. I know that it's hard. I do research. I want to get things planted. Hi, my name is Jake Bossenkemper, Director of Agronomy and Research here at Liqui-Grow.
Hi, I'm Katie Hess, Director of Sales and Marketing here at Liqui-Grow. Dr. Jake, I talked to our folks at Trayer this morning. It's still sprinkling. They're still running their windshield wipers. We've had a lot of rain throughout the geography in the last 10 days or so, on and off. So what's that do for the crop and what's that do for planting?
Yeah, Katie, I think we have had a lot of rain, and there's some more rain in the forecast, and it's delaying things a little bit. People are getting a little bit nervous. You know, we should be planting about right now if we could. But I also think it's important to reflect and just think about where we were 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, much of our geography was still on the drought monitor map, meaning that it was dry and we needed this rain. So this rain that we're getting right now can end up doing us a lot more good than harm in the long run because it's still early.
So Dr. Jake, it's April 24th. Top here where we're standing is starting to dry off nicely. Should we wait that extra half a day and let it dry out? What happens if we don't? And you know, what's on your mind?
Katie, yes, I think that you should do your absolute best to wait till it's dry enough where you're not going to cause sidewall compaction and compaction from tires. I know that it's hard. I do research. I want to get things planted. I was just struggling with the same thing the other day. I know it's difficult, but it really is better off to wait until it's fit, particularly because it's April 24th. I think it's really important to remember at the Davenport latitude-ish, we don't start losing corn yield until after the 15th of May in a big way, right? It's hard to tell until after the 15th of May. Up in our northern geographies, you do start seeing some yield loss after roughly the first week in May, so a little more important to get things done up there, but we have time, right?
Sure.
There does look to be some wet weather in the forecast, but it doesn't look like it's rain every single day, so let's just try to remain patient and, you know, do things that we know has a positive impact on yield.
We had a little discussion yesterday and had some people asking, you know, at what point do we start thinking about those really late maturities on corn? When should we be switching those out?
Yeah, some of those discussions have already been rumbling. People are thinking, people have time right now to think, unfortunately, to some extent.
We all need more stock cows.
Right. You know, by no means is it time to start thinking about switching your fuller season hybrids out for shorter season hybrids. I think it's really important to understand that if you do that, you're automatically giving up yield potential, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah, and how much yield potential are you giving up if you move like 5 days on the maturity? It's a lot.
Yeah, Katie, I mean, there's a lot of genetic variation, so it makes it really hard to nail that down. But let's say at this latitude, if you're planting a 114 versus a 108, you're probably giving up 10-15 bushel by planting a 108 versus a 113. So it can be substantial. I mean, the name of the game is collection of sunlight. And one of the ways you collect more sunlight is you grow the fullest season variety you can for a given geography to capture as much potential sunlight as possible.
Jake, we were talking yesterday in these, let's just call them 114s, 116s. If you plant them a little bit later, will they adjust and kind of make up for that difference?
Yeah, they absolutely will, Katie, and that's really the crux of the matter, why switching a full season variety for an early variety, even with late planting, doesn't make sense. And it's because that 113 ends up shortening up its GDU accumulation to maturity. So in other words, that 113 is really going to act like, you know, a 108, for example, when planted at the end of May. It's going to shorten up its GDU requirements to maturity. And so that's really why it doesn't make sense, because that 113 ends up acting like a 108 anyway.
So it'll kind of adjust knowing the season is...
Yes. Corn hybrids are largely driven off of GDU accumulation, temperature accumulation, but they still are photoperiod sensitive, so they can tell when the day lengths are changing, just like soybeans. And because of that, they can tell when the season's coming to an end, and they will shorten up their time to maturity based on that.
Jake, GDU accumulation, we just talked about this too. Some of the guys that I were talking to said they were planting in that April 13, 14, 15 time frame. And we looked, we're not even really at 100 GDUs yet. How many GDUs do you roughly need to have for corn to come out of the ground?
It takes roughly 150 GDUs for corn to come out of the ground. And we're going to accumulate some GDUs today, but you know, maybe 10. So this time of year, it just takes a while for the corn crop to come up.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking that, if you don't have your nitrogen down on top of the corn that's already planted in the ground, should you be worried about that?
I don't know that I'd be worried about it, but obviously I would be trying to get that application done as soon as possible.
And then the next part, we also got some emails coming across saying there's some talk about switching from a 2-pass corn system to a 1-pass corn system on herbicide applications. Is there any reason to be switching to that or anything that you're thinking?
I wouldn't change plans based on what's happening. Again, it's April 25th. It's still roughly a normal season.
It's actually April 24th.
April 24th. It's still roughly a normal season. I would not be making any drastic plans to your operation. You were doing a 2-pass system for a reason. 2-pass systems can be very beneficial in a lot of cases. Can you get by with a 1-pass system if you have very good historical weed control? Sure you can. But a 2-pass system, when in doubt, is always better. I would stick with that. Without knowing a lot of other information to answer that question, I would stick with your plan, stick with your 2-pass system.
Okay, so you're basically saying let that ground dry out just a little bit more. Don't cause any sidewall compaction. Stick with the hybrids that you've planned on planting, and stick with the herbicide program.
Absolutely.
It's April 24th. So this is about when things really start to take off normally anyway in the last 10 years. So it's going to be fun the next 10 days or so.
Absolutely. I suspect when things do dry out, things are going to go crazy.
Yes, and we all love that a little bit, don't we?
That's right. Yep, I do.
Have a great day, folks.
Thank you.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.